Today, we're going to talk about a thinking tool that's about 2,500 years old, but honestly, it might be more relevant right now than ever before. It's a potential antidote for the kind of polarized, chaotic world we all live in.
And I mean, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? We're living in this age of instant hot takes and gut reactions. But the Socratic Method, well, it asks us to do the complete opposite. It's about slowing down, questioning everything, and actually, thinking.
But look, before we can really appreciate the cure, we have to get a clear diagnosis of the disease. And this method, it was designed to fight a really fundamental flaw in the way our brains are wired.
This right here gets to the absolute heart of the problem. This idea of commonplace thinking. It's just our default setting, right? To accept what's popular, what feels right, and what everyone else is saying, and just treat it as the truth. No questions asked.
The philosopher Francis Bacon even had a fancy Latin name for it: the mind left to itself. And here's the tough part. When our minds are just left to their own devices, totally undisciplined, they just naturally drift toward bias, error, and irrationality.
And this is where it all comes home to roost for us today. I mean, think about it. Social media is basically a giant engine designed to amplify the mind left to itself. It rewards the quickest reactions, it celebrates easy certainty, it fuels outrage, and it just absolutely poisons our ability to have a real, rational conversation.
Okay, so that's the problem. So, what's the fix? Well, let's get into the ancient cure and meet the guy who came up with it. And let's not think of him as some dusty old statue, but more like a doctor for the mind.
And this was the guy, Socrates. Not exactly what you'd call a handsome hero, but his mind was a revolution. He understood this sickness of commonplace thinking better than just about anyone.
He had this famous way of describing himself as a gadfly, an annoying little insect stinging a big lazy horse. His job wasn't to be popular, his job was to be an irritant, to be annoying enough to force us all to wake up and actually examine the beliefs we hold so dear.
And this gets us to the main illness he was trying to cure, what he called double ignorance. And this is the most dangerous kind of ignorance there is, because if you don't even know that you're ignorant about something, well, how can you ever start to learn? Now, as a quick aside, historians still argue about who the real Socrates actually was. We get these totally different pictures of him from people like Plato, Xenophon, even the comedian Aristophanes. But you know what? At the end of the day, the historical details matter a whole lot less than the sheer power of the method itself. So, let's get practical. How does this thing actually work? It's time to open up the Socratic Toolkit.
All right, the main tool has a Greek name, the elenchus. But don't let the name throw you. It's a really simple idea. It's the art of asking questions to help someone see a contradiction. Not in your beliefs, but within their own.
Okay, here's a classic bare-bones example of how it works. In a dialogue, a general says, "Courage is persistence." Simple enough. But then Socrates gets him to agree that, well, foolish persistence isn't really admirable, is it? And since they both agree that courage is admirable, there's a problem. The original definition just doesn't hold up. You see that tension?
And this is the absolute magic of it. Socrates isn't arguing with you. He's not telling you you're wrong. He's just holding up a mirror to show you that your own beliefs are fighting with each other. You suddenly become your own antagonist, and you're the one who has to sort out the mess.
Now, using this in a conversation is powerful, for sure, but its greatest power, that comes when you turn it on the most important and often most stubborn person you'll ever argue with, yourself.
And this was really the idea all along. Plato himself said that thinking is basically just a conversation that the mind has with itself. It's you asking yourself questions, answering them, debating your own points internally.
So the real goal here is to build what you might call an inner Socratic function. It's like developing a little voice in your head that acts as a respectful but very firm opponent to your own biases, your own lazy assumptions, and all your easy answers. And when you start doing this, the game completely changes. You're no longer trying to win an argument. You're working to expose your own blind spots. You start to build real intellectual humility. And the cool thing is you actually figure out what you truly believe once all the junk and contradictions get stripped away. Now here's something you need to know. If you're expecting this whole process to lead you to a neat list of all the right answers, you're going to be disappointed, because that's not the point at all.
You see, Socratic conversations often end in this state they called aporia, which is basically a productive dead end. It's that exact moment when you have to stop and admit, wow,
I don't actually have a good answer. And that feeling? That's not failure. That's the beginning of real wisdom.
So at the end of the day, the Socratic method isn't about collecting a bunch of final, unchanging truths. It's about committing yourself to a process of fearless, honest questioning. It's about trading the love of being right for the love of finding out if you're wrong. And this leads us to the biggest idea of all. The Socratic view is that the good life isn't some destination you arrive at once you've won all the arguments and have everything figured out. No, the very act of questioning, of struggling with big ideas, of examining, that struggle is the good life.
Socrates' most famous line was, "The unexamined life is not worth living." So I'll just leave you with this question. In a world that is constantly begging you to just react, what's one thing you'll choose to truly examine today?